Hello everybody, this is Grand Master Damian Lemos for onlinechesslessons.net, and in this video I'm gonna analyze a game between Grandmasters Ponomariov and Ivanchuk. This game is from round 6 of the Thessaloniki Grand Prix, and we're gonna get started here. Ponomariov plays e4, Ivanchuk plays e6, which is the French defense, and this is becoming popular at the highest levels. White plays d4, black plays d5, and white plays knight to d2. As you guys know, this is the Tarrasch variation, and white it's defending the e4 pawn. He can also defend e4 by playing knight to c3, and he can also play e5, which is the advanced variation. The other possibility would be taking on d5, and this is this change variation. After knight d2, here black plays knight to f6, white plays e5, knight f d7, and white plays f4. This move is necessary, I think, because white needs to support his center. The other possible move here, it's bishop to d3. Usually theory goes c5, white plays c3. Here we see he's keeping a good pawn chain. Usually black takes, white takes here, knight c6. As white we have a strong center, but black will try to put some problems to us by putting pressure on d4 and also playing f6. And after this, we're gonna get the main line where we have some space advantages white, but black has a lot of compensation too. The only problem I see in black's position here is that the e6 pawn it's a bit weak, but this is theory, and of course you have to study this line more to make your own mind. But here, instead of playing this, white plays f4, which is another variation, and this is supposed to be more aggressive, because white is supporting his center in a strong way. When black plays c5 to break white's center, here white plays knight g3, and I think this is kind of a new fashion in this line. Usually white plays this way, he plays c3, and when black plays knight c6, usually white goes knight d to f3 instead of knight g f3. The difference is when we play this, the other knight, this knight on g1, can go to e2, and then we have two knights defending d4. Later white is gonna try playing something like h4, trying to win more space at kingside. And by the way, in this kind of positions, white's king ends up on f2, sometimes on g3 too. White doesn't need to castle. He trusts in his space advantage at kingside. On the other hand, as black, we're gonna try putting some pressure and create some counterplay in the center. As I said, putting pressure on d4 and probably playing f6 too. So this is, I think, the main line after playing f4. But what white plays here, it's interesting too. Playing knight f3, defending the pawn with the knight. And when black plays knight to c6, here instead of c3, white plays knight to b3. And here black plays c4. The thing is, when black plays c4, we just can move our knight back, and then we play c3. There's no more action in the center because the c5 pawn, it's gone. Here, I used to play the French my whole life, but I don't know much about this knight b3 line. I don't have any experience here, but I think I would take on d4 instead of playing c4, because when I play c4, knight bd2, then I feel, my counterplay at queenside, it's almost over, and white, he's gonna have a lot of freedom to play at kingside because he's got the advantage there. I would probably take on d4 because here, okay, after knight takes, I guess I can play bishop c5 maybe, or why not? Checking with this with that computer, we can find that knight c5 it's also playable. Despite moving the knight twice in the opening, in a lot of variations the knight is going to e4. If white plays bishop b5, we can play bishop d7. I think this is fine. White it's fine as well, but this is a game and there's still a long way to go here. And well, if white takes, we can just bring a side pawn to the center, and this would be okay for black, I think. I'm under the impression here white should play bishop e3 maybe, or just keep developing. But it feels like this is a different kind of position. It's not that closed as the game. And here as black, I guess, I think we have more chances. We have to see, more games about this line in the future, but I have the feeling c4, I don't know, let us see. I have the feeling white has more freedom now to attack at kingside. Black plays b5 just to make him stronger at queenside, and as white, bishop to e2, knight to b6. I think here, I'm not sure, maybe f6 it's possible. I'm under the impression we can try opening that position as black, although when we play a move like f6 in the French, we have to be careful too, because the e6 pawn usually becomes weak, and even if we take on e5, white can just consider retaking with the f pawn, and he still has this space advantage. So knight to b6, and here white plays knight to f1, which is quite interesting. As the position, it's a closed one, white can afford moving his knight twice in the opening. He can just maneuver as he wants, because as the center is closed, there's no action. So here knight f1, white wants to play knight to e3, and hopefully one day he can push f5. So that is why I like this maneuver. And black plays h5. I guess black's idea is to close everything at kingside as well, so that is why he plays h5. Again, maybe playing f6, it's interesting. However, as black, we also have drawbacks here, and maybe we have to just play this way. Well, black played in a similar way. Regarding this h5, I played the game like this myself, against Grand Master Michael Adams. I was playing black, and I got a decent position at queenside, like black has here, but then I got crushed at kingside. If you want, you can take a look at that game. This was played in Gibraltar. I don't remember the year, but it was like 2 years ago. You can check it. You can look for this game. I think this game was quite interesting, and you'll find this game pretty similar to this one. So that is why I recommend you study that game too. White plays knight to e3, and black plays bishop to d7. Right now there's no need of stopping f5 yet, because as white we can't play it. Black can just take on f5 then, and we can't take on d5 because this knight is protecting, and black is gonna continue by playing bishop e6, and then he's got more material. So here white castles. Well, with the rook on f1, he's probably preparing f5 one day. Ivanchuk plays bishop to e7, and white plays b3. We are also, attacking at queenside now, and this makes a lot of sense because if we think about it, we don't know whether black can castle or not. If he castles kingside, the problem is his king there is going to be quite weak, especially because he played h5 already. And if he castles queenside, I think it's going to be weak too, because we can still open lines there, and his king is not safe at queenside. But can black play with the king in the center? It's hard to answer that. So we can just play b3 as white and see what happens. If he castles this side, we're gonna attack at king side. If he castles queen side, we can just attack there. So whatever black plays here, I already like white's position because we have a clear plan, So black plays g6. Well, it's a waiting move. We are not placing our king at kingside nor queenside. And just like my game against Michael Adams, after I played a setup like this, I got a lot of weaknesses on dark squares. And actually here I would think about a plan like this. So one day, if I'm able to, to get this bishop on e7, then, dark squares, they're gonna be quite weak for black. Whereas, we can also tell here bishop d7, it's black's worst bishop in the French, because it's crashing into his own pawns, and bishop e7 happens to be black's best bishop. So the maneuver I just said, it's cool because we are getting black's best bishop here. Well, we'll have to prepare bishop h4 more because right now it's being controlled by two pieces, but the thing is, if we can get something like this in the long run, that would be great for white. And yeah, he plays bishop d2. Black plays a6. We have to mention that he can't touch the b5 pawn because then the c4 pawn is falling. We have too many pieces attacking there. And if he takes on b3 at some point, I don't think this is good either, because that position gets completely open and his king is still in the center. Well, we have a lot of moves to consider here. Taking on b5, taking on b3. Probably taking with the a pawn, it's great because then we open rook's a1 file, and we also prepare c4. With this development advantage and this space advantage we have, opening that position should be a good idea. especially because again his king is still in the center. So he plays a6, white plays bishop e1, black plays queen c7, and h3. Well, this is a nice waiting move. Maybe as white we can consider playing c4, maybe. Right now there's no rush to open our king, and it's also worth saying that if black plays h4, problem is we are adding a new square for our knight on c4, and little by little we are entering his position. As we said, we are full of holes here, so playing something like h4, black has to consider this twice before playing it, because this pawn can't go back. So h3, and here black castles queenside. It's hard to believe that after a few moves black is that worse here. I mean, I would swear this position is playable, but now when white plays a4 we realize black can stop the opening of queenside, and the king, black's position, the king's position, it's unlucky here, because we're gonna open queenside a lot here, especially after a takes b5 and b takes c4. As we said before, if he takes on b3 it's probably too late. We can just play here, and we are still putting a lot of pressure. The c file, it's also open now, or we can just take here too, in between, and then take on b3 later. But yeah, I mean, the more we open queenside, it's better for us. So black plays king b7, and here comes a great move by white, queen b1. The thing is, we are placing the queen in the same file as the king. This is making our threats stronger. As you can see, one of them, it's just taking the c4 pawn, so that is great for us. I guess here, well, in this game black played knight a7, and then after a5 he resigns, because he's got to move the knight somewhere, and then as you can see black is losing a pawn because the b5 pawn is under a pin, and at this level this is more than enough to win, so that is why black resigns here. But knight a7, okay, it's a mistake, but maybe it's, I understand, because it's not easy to suggest an improvement for black. As you can see, he can't move the b5 pawn. If he takes on a4, we can, for instance, consider this one, and black's position, it's hopeless here. If he plays b4, we can just take on c4 as well, winning a pawn. Right now the threat is playing a5, and when he moves the knight we want to take on c4, winning a pawn, so he has to move the king. But can he move the king here? No, because then we can just take on b5 and we win also. Probably the right move is playing king c8 again, but then we just open that position as much as we can again, and here I just like playing something like bishop c3. The thing is, I want to defend the d4 pawn as white, so then I can play knight to c5. And my idea when I play knight c5 is to get rid of his powerful bishop on e7. Probably he'll have to take, and then that dark squares a bishop it's missing. And later on I'll try just adding more pieces to the attack. It's it's a hard game for black, but yeah, this variation it's probably better than knight a7. So yeah, this was a quick game. It was a nice positional game by white, a nice strategy, And maybe as black we'll have to review the opening, because I don't think black played terribly here. I mean, maybe the opening line it's better for white, especially when we close the center, but we'll need to see more games of this line to have a clear idea.